Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's Fantasy Fiends podcast, coming at you live from Austin, Texas, somewhere in Canada, and wherever Jeff is. So, Jeff, you're in California, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Orange County. Okay, so right where Jonathan Yanez lives, kind of. Do you?
I guess I don't know.
Okay. I thought I just took I just thought everybody knew who Jonathan Yanez is. But you're a fantasy author, so he's sci-fi, so it kind of makes sense.
There you go.
They usually don't mix together very well sometimes.
You know, it's funny in Mexico when I was living there, I would say, "Oh, I'm from Canada," and they're like, "Oh, I had this friend who came, who had someone who lived in Canada who knew someone from Canada," and they say it like I'm supposed to know who this other Canadian is. Like somehow everybody in Canada knows each other, like
because there's only like 6 people there.
Just a few more.
You know what? I will say that is true. If for people who have not touched what did they call it? The motherland? Doesn't it have a nickname? Canada? Yeah, the Great White North. I've been there, and it does have people. I was surprised, like a lot of people. Like I went to British Columbia and had tea, and I was like, "What are all these freaking people doing?" I thought they were supposed to be like out hunting polar bears or something. Like made no sense.
The majority of Canada's population is within like 200 kilometers of the U.S. border.
Which one is?
Like all the way along the U.S. border. That's like where you'll find all the big Canadian cities, about 200 kilometers away. And that's where most of Canada's population is.
Yeah, I've seen the maps with the like lights, and there's like only dots up north. Like, what's up there? Is that just
little tiny towns? Yeah.
That's the bear country up there.
Yeah.
Where you like have to have 4 things of bear mace. Well, today we have a very interesting topic for you guys today. And whoa, Outback. Oh man, that freaking bloomin' onion. Have you guys had that? Damn. I know, Andy,
Stevie, tangent the first.
They don't
for the
have
night.
Outback in Canada.
2 minutes in.
What I'm talking about. Bloomin' onion.
But I've been to Outcast Steakhouse, but I've never tried the bloomin' onion.
Oh. You a foo. Anyway, this video is not sponsored by the Bloomin' Onion, but we do have a really cool topic for you today, and that is how to go from being an Andy to a me. That's right, we're talking 0 to hero. And today we are honored to have back on the show Jeff Kohanek, which sounds surprisingly like cognac, which is an alcohol.
That's true.
It is, right? You've gotten that before, haven't you?
Oh yeah. In fact, Angel, you guys know Angel. She thinks she remembers my name because it sounds like alcoholic. Jeffrey L. Kohanek.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Dude.
That is a very, very cool mnemonic device to remember your name.
And that's a very Angel thing to do, I feel like.
It is.
I think we have like a drinking podcast coming up that I was pulled into. And she asked me, do you have any characters that are alcoholics in your books? And I'm like, yeah, I have tons, but I can't remember a freaking one of them. I was probably drinking at the time. I still to this day can't remember the ones that drink a lot. I can't remember them. And it's freaking bugging me. And then I'm like, oh, well, I'm on my 10th novel now. It makes sense. And he's like, 10th? I write a novel every day. No. But Jeff is a fantasy author. Jeff, what are you working on now?
I'm currently writing the 5th book in my Fate of Wizardom series. So when that comes out, that'll be like novel 14 or 15. 15.
Oh, okay. Showing your feathers. All right. I get it. I'm the baby here.
And what book's out so far? Is it 1 and 2, or is 3 and 4 already out?
Yeah, 1, 2, and 3 are out. The 4th one is currently with my editor, and it comes out in May. The one I'm writing now comes out in July, and the last one comes out in August. So,
nicely done.
You said
this is just 6. It's just 6 books.
Yeah,
cool.
So,
this is a Fate of Wizardoms.
Wizardoms. Yeah, it's like a kingdom, but ruled by a wizard. And
okay, yeah, that's awesome.
Wizardom.
Are they on Audible? We always get asked that.
They're definitely on Audible. In fact, the 3rd one just came out today on Audible.
Awesome.
Audible is pretty slow right now with their release schedule.
Is it because of the thing?
They're backed up a lot.
Yeah.
Is it because of the thing that we're all thinking about, the thing that we can't say because it'll demonetize us?
They were even backed up before that, and the thing it makes it even worse.
Oh my god! So how is the thing? Like we gotta talk about it at least a little bit.
Wait,
like how's
before we do that, Jeff, you need to move your shoulder closer so people can see what that is.
This dragon.
Yeah, let me see. Give me a second.
Does it have a name?
There we go. Look at that.
Yeah, there you go. It's Zyordican.
Zyordican. That's a pretty dragon sounding name. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, wow. We actually I talked to a guy. So what's going on with me is my dad owns a massive outdoors store online, and he sells fishing lights, which he engineered and patented himself. So during the Christmas season, we had some huge days, right? We just broke that record last weekend selling, I want to say, $25,000 worth of product. And guess who's building those $25,000 worth of product? This guy. In fact, I'll show you proof. That is not what you think it is.
I don't know what we're looking at.
Yeah, me neither. I'm not going to lie, Stevie.
That's my, look, see, it's my hips. And that's not semen. That is silicone. That's proof. Proof. Because I have to walk around like that all day. But I forgot the point that I was going with all of this. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. And my hands are freaking killing me. And then I come home and I write, 2,000 words for the newest series. So, the point was I got a call today making a sale. And the guy's name was Dragomir. And I was like, dude, I'm using your name in my book right now. He's like, but I'm like, are you really? Like, he's from Arkansas and his name was Dragomir. It's like, okay, that's his first name, Dragomir. And funny story, the name Featherstone also came from Green Blob Outdoors, their dad's fishing company. So I got permission for both to use their names in my book.
Very cool.
Yeah, fun little story, Dragomir. But you reminded me of that because like your dragon could be named Dragomir. Dragomir.
It's actually named after a dragon in the current series I'm writing. So
okay, yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the series?
Okay. Yeah. So, inspiration for books comes from a lot of different places. And mine started with the characters, and actually it started with this main character. He's kind of this witty, clever, arrogant thief. He's inspired by guys such as Matt Cawthon from Wheel of Time.
Nice.
Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy, Han Solo. Like, I like these characters that are like, they're snarky, but they're brave and they just make stuff happen. Yet they're an anti-hero. They're like, I kind of want to do my own thing, but I'm reluctantly going to do the right thing anyway. So that kind of was the beginning. But and you get influence for characters from everywhere, and there's a whole bunch of really fun characters in this. But as far as the world goes, it's kind of like a love letter to books, to series such as Wheel of Time, but told in more like a fast-paced style, right? So there's not a ton of like narrative or exposition. World building just happens as you read. Books are more like 300 pages instead of 1,000 pages, and it's based on the idea that what if a wizard class ruled, and there was one chief wizard, and we call him a wizard lord, that rules each different wizardom. And what makes him different is he's granted the power of a god, and he's basically unkillable. You put a sword through him, he heals himself, instantly. And so they wield much more power, and they can heal themselves.
So are they just not tangible? No, they are tangible because they're
tangible. And they're almost immortal. They'll live to be hundreds of years old, right? So 300, 400, 500 years old. So you have a wizard lord, and then all their other wizards, they're kind of like, they're better. They're stronger than humans, and they're kind of the ruling class, but they're nothing like the wizard lord. And the first book is like a heist assassination story about a team of people that are trying to kill a wizard lord.
Oh, I like that. So is the wizard lord in book one, if you can tell us, is he a bad guy? Like worth killing?
Yeah, I mean, of course I portray him as a bad guy, or people see him as a bad guy, but It's more like, well, he lives so long and he's had all these wives and all these children. Everybody dies. He just becomes kind of tainted, and he doesn't value life. He's not happy. He ends up being just brutal and vicious anytime anybody steps the wrong direction. Oh, your dad, whatever. And at the same time, he's got a daughter who returns from this university where she studied to kind of learn all the stuff wizards learn, right? And she's kind of trapped between this great mad father and a power-hungry older brother. So one wants her dad and the other wants to use her, and it's kind of, so that's happening at the same time.
Yeah. And we'll be reading from this today. Is it book 1 that we're reading?
Yeah.
Yep. Your main character reminded me of the character from Panemon Creole from The Sword of Shannara. A surprising amount of people haven't read it. I mean, it is basically a ripoff of the Lord of the Rings, but it's actually it's interesting the way he ends it. But there's like this evil wizard at the end, like this overpowered wizard, and he isn't tangible. And the way that the author kills the wizard's kind of interesting. So, have you read the Sword of Shannara?
I haven't read that one. I've read other Shannara books, but
okay. Yeah, Panemon Creole, like he's a Star-Lord character, and I love those characters too. And the funny thing is, I feel like I've started a character like that in every book, but I could never commit to it, and he always becomes like a Spider-Man character. Okay. I guess that's just like my favorite thing. But so, Jeff, I don't know. Do you go by Jeff? I feel like
Jeff is great.
It was Jeff. Okay.
Yeah.
You're an electrician, aren't you?
No, engineer. I have an engineering degree. So I went to school to become an engineer. Later on, became a product manager for tech companies. But now I write full time.
So dude, that's awesome. Yeah. Were you writing full time last time we talked to you?
No. I just actually left my day job in January.
Congratulations. Yeah, it seems like you did it at the right time too.
Well, although I could probably be just getting paid for sitting around at home right now.
Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
I got blessed with what's going on. So when you're quarantined, you can still go fishing. I don't know if I said that before or after the podcast. So I got really lucky with that. So me and the family are feeling very blessed. Lisa works at a bakery, and they were able to become an essential business. So she's actually been at work for close to 14 hours today because she has to go like route deliveries and stuff. It's been crazy in the Collier house.
How is the bakery an essential business? Like, what does it provide?
So they were smart. They saw this coming, and so they made a menu, and they made it like they make meatloaf, affordable meatloaf with big amounts too, so they can people can feed their families for an affordable amount, and it's here we have HEB, that's the grocery store. Mm-hmm. And it's like no food. It's insane. And I don't know about you guys, but they actually had to change the hours. So from 8 to 9 o'clock in the morning, only those above 55 years old can go. That's because we were taking all the food from the elderly who aren't in rest homes. It was really sad. Actually, when I was at Walmart the other day, I had this like small lady with Parkinson's, and I'm like, how is she going to survive? So I quickly took the meat from her, and then I ran. So it was a quick decision, but fight of the fit. What the fudge is that called?
Survival of the fittest.
Fight of the fittest, everybody. I am the hero. So, Jeff, I don't know if you remember, we always begin the podcast with something cool. I kind of said mine already. So, Jeff, you said that you had a new book on Audible. Is there anything else you want to tell us about?
Yeah, actually, this podcast is good timing. Like many other authors, I know that people are stuck at home, so I decided to give away some books. Well,
nice.
The book we're reading from today, is free on all Amazon stores through March 28th.
That is awesome.
So,
yeah, we have actually Steven. I know he's a big Audible guy. Steven, Jeff's books are on Audible. Go pick them up, man. They sound awesome. Yeah, yeah, Rajin, the Sword of Shannara is like freaking old. I actually bought, fun story, I actually have a Terry Brooks autograph that I got from Half Price on accident. I just picked up a book that he wrote on writing and was flipping through. I was like, oh my God, he signed this book. And I got it for like $4. They didn't even check it. I was
actually a great steal.
So I'm going to change my name to
Half Price Books is legit.
Dude, I found your book at Half Price, Andy.
Really?
And I would like walked over to all my family members, like, "This is my friend. This is my friend."
You found my book at which Half Price?
It was in Austin. Yeah.
Really?
Yes, I found your book. I found a few authors that we've had on the podcast, actually. But yours, it was the old cover too. It was the black one.
Yeah.
I was freaking going crazy. I was like, it reminded me I had to get my original copy of your book signed. By the way. But anyway, sorry, Jeff. But yeah, guys. And also remember to share this on Facebook, guys. Really appreciate it. Andy, anything cool you want to talk about before we move on to the topic?
Well, so since last week, I finished the 5th book in the Cerberus series. I did some intense editing on the 4th book, and I literally spent about 8 hours solid today just researching sniper stuff for the next book, because it's going to be sniper versus sniper. And that's going to be really fun, and it's going to take so much work to write. But I'm excited for it because it's fun to do these kind of matchups.
Totally, man. And Andy, did you like state on the podcast that you're brain dead because you did all this research?
My brain is so overloaded with information right now. I've been yawning like 100 times since we started not recording. Before recording, I was yawning so much because my brain is just dead. So if I don't say intelligent words today, Stevie, you're gonna have to carry us.
Oh, good luck, man. Good luck. I did have some really good writing session today. I usually break up my 2,000 words into 250 word chunks. I sat my butt down and wrote all 2,000 words because I was so excited about my new Dragomir character. I wasn't joking about Dragomir. Like, he's a sick bastard too. It's amazing. Oh, I just love it when the villain is just disgusting. Which I need, now that I say that, I kind of want to go back and make sure that, he has like what's his reasoning for being so like that. But anyway, today's topic, we are talking about Zero to Hero. And this is a topic that was brought up by you, Jeff. Is that right?
Actually, I had a different topic, but we can do this one. So that's cool.
Well, it was the thing was how you go from being a nobody to being a somebody.
Oh,
right.
Yeah. I guess but my angle was with, the fact that an enchanted item can take somebody who's nobody and make them into somebody, right?
Oh my God.
But, I like that. I like that. But one of the things that they play with a lot in fantasy, especially, is that the enchanted item isn't actually, you had the power within you all along, whatever movie line that is. Like the enchanted item is just something. It's like a placebo effect that gives the person something to hold on to, that all of a sudden now I'm great, and then they find out that they had the greatness within them, or whatever it is. And it's kind of a fun thing to explore, because the truth is that there is no single item, like in real life, let's say, there is no single item on the planet that can make somebody great. It's a process to becoming great, whether you become the next Steve Jobs, the next Bill Gates, the next Jeff Bezos, the next Marie Curie, the next Albert Einstein, Isaac Newton, whoever you are. It's this long process of getting great. And it's so much more interesting to go through that than just, all right, here is a magic sword, now you go kick ass all the time. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. I love the magic sword that makes me kick ass all the time and turns me into, whatever it is. But in a way, it's almost more of a relatable human story when you see them going through that process of coming, from zero to hero.
Yeah, it ends up being a tool, right? I mean, they could just take the magic sword and put it on their wall and say, hey, look, I got this cool sword. I mean, but if you give it to the right person, what happens, right?
Yeah. So, that is another fun thing to play with, with the great power comes great responsibility thing. But again, you could play with both of those things. You could be like, all right, here's your magic sword. You now have a ton of power. But then when you take away the sword, they have all the same amount of power, and then they have to take responsibility for their actions just as much. It's one of the more fun tropes to play with, I will say.
Wow. So this, Oh, I have so much to talk about this topic. Like, I don't want to take the whole show, but I have to ask, who here has read book 2 in the Bizarre Blade series? Like, damn, like this goes perfectly with that book. I am a huge fan of the underdog scene, the underdog theme. Like, oh man, I just love it so much. And Andy, were you like trying to? So, it's not the magical weapon; it's who you become when it makes you this great person. Is that right? Am I right in saying that?
Well, so that was taking it to Jigsaw. I read Jigsaw book 1, and the sword had a ton of power, right? Yes. But it wasn't until he went through his whole training montage out in the middle of nowhere that he actually became powerful, like that he actually learned to master it, and that he became, the guy that he was supposed to be. So no matter how powerful the object is, you give it to somebody who's a nobody, it's going to turn them into something strange. I think that's one thing that I've read somewhere, where like a nobody, like someone who was an underdog or downtrodden their whole life, was given this object of total power, and it made them into sort of this villain who they all of a sudden had this power, and it was time to get revenge on everybody who had ever slighted them. I think that happens in like lots of different series, but so it's interesting. Did you sort of play, Jeff, with that of like how an object of such power can make someone good or bad?
Exactly. So there are some wizards, for instance, that get a hold of an object like this, and they go from being kind of a clever, sly, underpowered wizard to being overpowered, and he abuses that power because all he wanted was power the whole time. So that's very different than somebody else who might be more kind-hearted or something, right? And they get the power and they'll use it differently. And then the other aspect is the magical items can become an item of contention. Everybody else wants the thing. So now you've got intrigue and things happening because they're after this object.
So I'm guessing that happens in your book, and he has to like run away from the crowds of people trying to steal it.
Yeah, there's actually quite a bit of that because as the series goes on, there's more of these enchanted objects that come into play.
Oh, okay.
Some boost wizards' abilities, some maybe negate them. Some
are they learned, or are they innate, or are they like through a talisman? You not say.
They're usually objects that are enchanted, and it just depends on how you use them. For instance, the first book in the series is called Eye of Obscurance. It's an amulet that when you wear it, obscures magic from being able to affect you. So people try to use magic on you like a fireball, nothing happens, right? Well, wizards don't want this object, right? So they see this object as it's something that denies their ability to control people. So,
nerd question here. Could a wizard lord break through that amulet if someone was wearing it and he wanted to fireball him?
No.
Really? Wow. So it's that powerful.
Yeah. So think about it. The way a character in my world talks about magic is an illusion, and everybody is naturally susceptible to it. This object basically destroys the illusion. You're not affected because you don't see it.
Oh.
So are these objects enchanted by the various wizards and wizard lords, or are they enchanted by like the gods or whatever, like magic itself?
Okay, so there is there are 8 wizardoms. One is just enchanters. It's what they do, and it's very secretive. Now, this object has been around. It's ancient, and it was lost for many centuries. The snarky hero, who I described earlier, so his real name is Jarrell Landish, but he has to go by the name Jace because his exploits became too famous, and nobody trusts him if he uses his real name.
That's awesome.
So he uses this fake name Jace. Well, anyway, when he was younger, he found this object in an old abandoned castle that was protected by a minotaur. And and that's a short story that I give away to readers, right? And it's kind of a fun short story. Anyway, he gives away this object for money. He doesn't know anything about it. He doesn't know its value. He just wants a gold. And then later on in the book, as this main series goes, he has to steal this object because he needs it in order to complete his mission. And then the whole story begins. And, this is not a huge spoiler, but yes, a wizard lord dies in the first book. Well, it ends up being the first domino in a series of dominoes that changes the whole world. And at the end of the series, the world will be very different. But, so these people, they don't realize what they're starting.
Awesome.
That sounds cool.
You know what? This really reminds me of Pokemon. Like when Ash Ketchum gets Pikachu, and Pikachu hates him at the beginning until Ash kind of changes his attitude towards it, and he starts building and working on this teamwork with Pikachu, and he learns how to become more communicative with Pokemon. And wow, this sounds really lame.
Funny you mentioned that. I love Pokemon. I've been watching Pokemon for 20 years.
Have you really?
Oh yeah.
Dude, so when the Sparrows,
all the games.
Oh man, me too. I'm playing a Go Pikachu right now. So, but what I was gonna say, and then Team Rocket, they see the value in Pikachu, and that's the amulet. They want that Pikachu. They gotta steal him. And fun fact, it took Ash 20 years to beat the Ivy League. So didn't it? He just won. I haven't seen the new series, but he just won.
Yeah. I haven't watched the newest.
Yeah, me neither. It just blows my mind. And he's voiced by a woman. I did not know that either, but I'm not very surprised. So fun Pokemon facts for you guys. I know that's very interesting, but from zero to hero, that is definitely one of my favorite things. I think a lot of people like that too. It allows us to escape our reality and become that hero. I'm reading this book called Influence. I'm not reading, I'm listening to it. It's a book called Influence, and it's the psychology behind influencing people. And I just had a brain fart. The reason why we enjoy entertainment so much is that we actually put ourselves behind the protagonist. No matter who it is, we put ourselves behind this protagonist, and subconsciously we see them as a reflection of us. So when something good happens to them, we get a dopamine rush because it's like, hey, that's us. That's our representation. We're the good guy, which is the game we play as kids. I'm the red Power Ranger, I'm Ash Ketchum, stuff like that. It's a fun little thing in the book, and I think that's why the whole zero to hero theme is so powerful in fantasy. Probably why I enjoy writing it a lot. But
yeah, that progression that people go from, the zero, the farm boy. That's your classic trope, the farm boy, the shepherd's son, the nobody in the middle of nowhere with nothing. All of a sudden discovers that they have something, which all of us, you see those jokes about, I turned 12. I didn't get my letter from Hogwarts, something else. Now, I'm waiting for my 30th birthday when I get the invitation to go on the adventure with the dwarves from The Hobbit or something, people want this adventure. Obviously they don't actually want the adventure because as Bilbo Baggins says, it's adventures are exhausting. but a part of us, we crave that sense of adventure and excitement. And so, being able to read it through the characters and actually see normal, mundane people like us become something great is what makes us think that we can become a hero in our own lives.
I just put into chat, like, this is just so Link from Ocarina of Time, he starts out in Kakariko Village or whatever, and you seriously fight for that part of the game with a stick that you could catch on fire and it could get destroyed. As you can tell, I am a fan. Jeff, was this your first series? No, it's not your first.
No, it's my third series. In fact, my first series is basically a zero to hero series.
Okay.
I mean, all of them are to some degree, but the first one, that's really all what it is. It's the nobody to definitely somebody by the end, but he's part of a persecuted, outcast part of society. He discovers he has abilities that other people don't have, and stuff happens, right? But this is a spoiler, but the series has been out for a while. Long story short, he finds out that his abilities are the reason that his whole group have been treated like outcasts.
Oh my!
Oh wow!
They don't want that to happen. So.
Wow, that's depressing. And then the book ends. Then the whole series ends.
Yeah, but yeah, this is my third series. But it's fun. I write fantasy. Fantasy is about series work well for fantasy because you have big stories that they just require more than one book. Yeah,
definitely. You actually touched on something that I was going to ask, but then forgot, and that is, the more we're talking about this zero to hero thing, I'm like, oh my God, it's everywhere. Is it truly everywhere? Is there not a single book out there that we don't see a zero to hero? Yes, you could say war hero, but he falls, so he has to be hero again. What? Okay, all right, big guy, let's hear it.
The hunter isn't a zero by any stretch of the imagination.
He's a demon.
Yeah, sure, but there's a lot of fantasy out there that doesn't play with that. Okay. They go a different route. They don't bother with the whole heroics thing. I mean, look at the first Law series. Logan Nine Fingers you never think once in the whole series that he's going to be a hero, and you never think he's a zero. He just
is, right?
Bloody Nine, exactly. Now they play a little bit with that with the swords guy, Jezal Dan Luther or something, where he's like, he goes from sort of not the second best swordsman in whatever the kingdom is to becoming the prince, right? And then they flip that on its head, and the first of the Magi just shuts his shit down. There's a lot of fantasy that plays with that progression thing, but there's also quite a bit that doesn't go that route.
You can focus on redemption or something, right?
Yeah.
There are a lot of themes.
There are a lot of people who really do like that classic. It's the classic hero's journey, and to some degree, every single character's story is the hero's journey. The hunter, he doesn't go through the same hero's journey as, say, Aragon or, your young characters from it was the Guardians of Asalia or Wardens of Asalia?
Wardens. Yeah.
Wardens first, right? Yeah. Or from this one, but even like your character Jace, he's not exactly a zero.
No, he's not really a zero to hero. In fact, he's already known as the best thief in the land, basically, right? But he's self-centered, and his journey is different, right? Caring about others is a different journey. There is another. Actually, I don't know if there's any real zeros in this story. But the heroes tend to be mostly reluctant, just products of fate. They have to do it.
And these are other characters in this series?
In my Wizardham's books, yeah.
Okay. Does it only follow the one character, or does it have multiple perspectives?
By the end of the third book, there's probably about 10 major characters in a group. They then split up into two, but
Do you
bunch.
Okay, so you have different perspectives.
There's 4 main perspectives in the first story.
Oh, wow, man.
I tried doing that for one series, never ever again. That's way too confusing for my brain.
I have fun with it, but I tend to write one perspective at a time all the way through, then go back and write the next one.
Are they all like separate in separate locations, or are they all like right together?
Both. There are points where they're all right together.
How can you do that when they're all together and it goes, from one character's perspective, and then all of a sudden, the next chapter would be the next character's perspective, and then so if you keep going it like that, it'll just be like these massive jumps.
I tend to do it definitely by location. So if they're in different locations, like there's 3 characters over here and 4 over here, I'll write all the ones over in this location and these guys doing this thing. I'll write all that together, and then I'll start writing this one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Timelines interleave. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it flip flops. A lot of times, I'm just so into a character's head, I'll just keep writing that character.
Yeah. So wait, hold on. You write the whole book in one character's perspective, and then you go in and sprinkle in the other characters.
Yes and no. I might write some numerous chapters and then go back and interleave others.
Okay, that makes.
Right.
Oh God, I don't even think I could do that though. Like, oh man, like it's so. Would you say that's linear, Andy? It's just like I have to just keep building a top. I don't know. Like even the whole going back and editing process is the most boring thing in the world for me.
Really, I love revisions. It's my favorite part of writing.
You're also an engineer, so,
but then you basically look at your finished book draft, right, for the first time, and you're reading it you're in it as a reader. No, you're making it better, but you're in it as a reader. That's my favorite part.
Really,
I'm just polishing it and filling in detail.
I guess that's not the way I looked at it at first. To me, it was the grind. There's no more creation. But I like the way you look at it better. I'm going to definitely put that to use because I'm actually about to have to start editing, and maybe that'll even speed it up. But guys, should we get to the reading?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right.
Be excited about that.
Jeff, you are the director. Tell us who these characters are and who you want us to read and who you want to read.
Okay. Well, obviously we need a narrator. And there's a bunch of, narration to be done. So somebody can take that. Jace has the most lines in it. So again, he's also known as Jarrell sometimes, but Jace has the most lines. So somebody can dedicate themselves to him. And then last, we've got, there's like 4 or 5 other characters. Rindle, who's a thief. Salvan, who's a storyteller. Roa, who's an acrobat. And Rock, who's a dwarf. But he's a shy, introverted, bald.
I call dibs on all those small side characters.
Okay.
Just so I can do the dwarf.
Okay.
Who is Jace?
What?
Who is Jace?
Jace is like the thief. He's the main character. I mean, I could definitely do him.
Good. And Stevie will do the narration.
Yep.
The rest.
Alrighty.
Okay.
I'm ready when you guys are. I apologize in advance for any mispronunciations. Okay. Is it the peal of bells?
Yep, that's where we're at.
Okay, I just want to have a strong start here. Let me get a sip of some tea I brewed myself.
Here you go.
That's today's urine. Oh, sometimes too lazy to walk. It'll do. It's not urine. It's tea for people who are new to the show. All right. This is The Price of Reputation. The peal of bells greeted the rising sun, and the portcullis began to rise. Travelers, some on foot, some on horseback, some on wagons, began to filter in Fastella. Perched on the roof of the Briar Patch, an inn located across the square inside the gate, Jace waited. Back when he lived in Fastella, he had spent many evenings in the tap room tossing dice with travelers who were unaware of the exploits. A number of years and many escapades had passed since then, but some of his favorite memories came from the Briar Patch. The square below began to fill with farmers as carts and citizens seeking fresh produce. A beggar, a young boy Jace did not know, settled at one intersection. He was sure the boy worked for Cordelia. They all did. A familiar sound arose, the steadily rising staccato of horses approaching. A cluster of 20-some riders emerged from a narrow street and crossed the square. At their head was a standard depicting a purple hound on a field of yellow. The robed figure beside the pennant was easy to place, tall and thin with a brown beard and dark eyes. Eldelaine?
Yep.
Eldelaine led his retinue through the gate and out of the city. A distant shadow rose as the man kicked his horse forward, his entire squad racing north at a gallop. Jace smiled.
At least some things remain predictable.
He noticed a flicker of movement on the roof beside his own. It didn't take him long to guess who it might be.
You can come out now, Rindle.
Jace shouted. Rindle stood and approached, his frown mirroring his thin mustache.
What are you up to, Gerald?
I thought it might be a nice morning for rooftop thinking.
Really? Overlooking the gate where Prince Eldelaine just rode out?
Was that him?
Jace did his best to sound shocked.
Huh. I wonder where he is heading.
Come now, Gerald.
Rindle snarled.
I don't know why Cordelia places so much faith in you.
Perhaps it's my handsome looks. Or maybe even my charm.
Jace grinned.
Or maybe it's because I've yet to fail.
Things change.
Rindle sneered.
I had never failed either until your interference.
I was merely doing my job. It's not my fault you took the same contract with another party.
Yes, Cordelia.
And that was when she invited me in.
Her mistake.
Jace sighed.
Why not just let it go, Rindle? The past is the past. Leave it there and look toward the future. I don't want your job, nor do I wish to control these streets. I plan to complete my contract and leave Fastella, which can't come soon enough.
That's why you sent Elderlane away.
Rendell said with narrowed eyes.
You wanted him out of your hair so you could get to Taladane without having to deal with 2 wizards.
Jace snickered.
Amazing. You actually have a brain in that pin-sized head.
Rendell glared back.
Keep laughing. Your arrogance will be the end of you.
Of that, I have no doubt. However, many years will pass before then.
Don't be so sure.
Rendell walked away, speaking over his shoulder.
Good luck with Taladane. You'll need it.
Jace frowned, watching Rendell's back as the man departed.
He knows something. Whatever it is, he believes it'll be the end of me.
After stewing a moment longer, Jace decided it was time to return to the inn. He ran across 3 rooftops before leaping the gap over a narrow alley. Continuing, he crossed another 8 rooftops, then moved to the edge. A familiar building stood across the street, the front adorned with a sign depicting a goat licking the foam off a tankard of ale. The climb down to the 2nd-story balcony was a simple task. The drop from the balcony to the front porch awning took but a moment. When he lowered himself to the street, he smiled at a well-dressed woman walking past. A big man walked at her side, glaring at him with suspicious eyes. The woman had pale hair, blue eyes, and sufficient courage to draw Jace's attention. Despite his best smile, the woman frowned and steered clear, giving him a sidelong look of disdain as if he were covered in manure.
Stuck-up wizardess,
he muttered, glaring at her bodyguard's back. The bodyguard's head was on a swivel, watching for any threats as he escorted the woman he was paid to protect. There was a time Jace had considered becoming a bodyguard, deciding against it. Lacking height and bulk, others constantly underestimated him, which was a bad fit. A good bodyguard had an intimidating appearance, the mere threat of their presence doing most of the work. Jace was just too inviting a target. He didn't need that sort of aggravation. He entered the inn and passed through the dining area where 3 tables were occupied by guests having breakfast. A hand went to his inside coat pocket, confirming the item he had retrieved that morning had not fallen out.
Think Geld,
he thought. The jeweler had done a fine job, but the fast turnaround had cost Jace double. To lose it after paying 5 gold pieces would be more than disheartening. He cut through the building and emerged in the stable yard. Roa and Rock were there, hers standing on his shoulders. Rock's thin hand gripped her ankles.
Now, let go and hold your palms open in front of you,
Roa instructed. Rock did as she asked, slowly releasing his grip. With her arms extended for balance, she shifted one foot, then the other, until she stood on his palms. Jace leaned against the wall and crossed his legs at the ankles to watch the show. Roa spoke while balancing on the short man's palms.
When I bend my knees, wait a beat, and then push up with all your might. All right,
Rock said. Still balancing on Rock's hands just above his shoulders, Roa squatted. With a grunt, Rock thrust his arms up. At the same time, Roa leapt, twisting and flipping in the air, her arms in tight. Her body spinning in a blur, she fell toward the ground, uncoiled, and landed lightly, her feet shifting slightly to avoid falling before she raised her arms high and bowed. Hal, who sat in the shade of the stable wall, clapped and whooped. Jace joined the stable hands' applause, clapping as he strolled to the middle of the yard.
Very nice, Roa. Perhaps we do have a shot with this little show.
The clapping of hooves came from the alley, just before a familiar horse emerged. A small cart followed, Salvin holding the reins.
Whoa!
The old man shouted and pulled the horse to a stop. Hall stood and dusted off his trousers. He then walked to Jabbers and began disconnecting him from the cart.
Where have you been?
Jace asked. Salvin climbed down and dug through the back of his cart.
Procuring costumes!
He pulled out a bundle of blue and red cloth, tossing it to Roa.
What is this?
She asked. Salvin grinned and reached for the next bundle.
That, my dear, is a jester costume.
He then tossed the other bundle to Rock.
What is a jester?
Rock's face twisted in question.
I am so glad you asked,
Salvin said with a smile.
In my travels, I have been many places and seen many things. Decades ago, I was part of a show featuring floridly dressed characters known as jesters. I would play lively tunes while these jesters performed. Adorned with bells on their hats and shoes, they would perform comedic acts with an acrobatic flair.
Jace crossed his arms.
What does that mean?
Rock and Roa are going to give Taladane a show unlike any other. I will recite a tale of a ridiculous hero while they act it out in a combination of acrobatic stunts and physical comedy.
Jace held his question while he waited for Hall and to walk Jabbers into the stable. He then leaned towards Salvin.
What about me?
Oh, I have that figured out as well.
The old man gave Jace a nod.
It was your idea to procure a position as a servant in the palace. You will proceed with your plan and help us gain additional intelligence. When the time comes, you must ensure you are among the servants present while we perform. Of course, the performance will not quite end the way Lord Taladane expects.
Jace frowned.
I don't yet have the proper clothing for a servant. You keep changing the plans on me. So I didn't bother visiting a tailor.
Salvin reached into the back of his cart and drew out another bundle, tossing it to Jace.
Already addressed, my dear boy. I believe you will find it fits you well enough.
He grinned.
You don't even need to dress as a woman this time, Gerald.
Eyes narrowed. Jace stared at the man.
You have done some research, I see.
You are not the only one with eyes and ears in this city. I would not have survived this long without a few tricks of my own. Information is a valuable commodity, as you're quite aware. Who is Gerald?
Roa asked. Salvin arched a brow.
You have never heard of the great Gerald Landish?
She furrowed her brow at Jace.
Isn't that the name you asked me about when we first met?
Yes.
If you don't know of Gerald Landish, perhaps you have heard of the troubled High Wizard Montague ran into a few years ago?
Salvin arched his brow at Jace.
It involves some rather lewd behavior.
Oh, that was a contract I should have declined.
Jace muttered. Roa glared at him.
Why the fake name?
Jace grit his teeth, not caring for the path the discussion was taking. Reluctantly, he explained.
The Montague encounter wasn't my only famous exploit. The name Gerald became too well known and drew too much attention. A couple of years ago, I began using the name Jace to remain less conspicuous.
I don't understand,
Rock said.
Who is this Gerald?
Salvin clapped Rock on the shoulder while smiling at Jace.
Gerald Landish is a master thief, able to break into any stronghold. He can even steal the small clothes right off you without you knowing it.
Rock's brow furrowed in confusion.
Why would you wish to steal someone else's small clothes? Why indeed?
Salvin said, still grinning at Jace. Jace growled.
Perhaps someone bet a large sum that it couldn't be done.
Salvin laughed.
I knew it!
Roa crossed her arms.
If you try to steal my small clothes, you'll find yourself leaking blood from a hole you'd rather not have.
Jace sighed.
For Geld's sake, I'm not going to steal anyone's small clothes. It was a one-time thing.
I suppose stripping a wizard naked and tying him to a bed was also a one-time thing?
Salvin's grin grew wider.
Of course it was!
Frustrated, Jace squeezed his fist into his until his knuckles turned white.
I don't have time to explain my actions to you, so just let it drop.
The old man laughed. Even Roa and Rock chuckled as Jace glared back at them.
If you three are through harassing me, I need to change and see about a job at the palace.
Laughter continued while Jace stomped to the rear entrance of the inn, opened the door, and slammed it behind him. Very nice. Salvin was probably your best character ever.
Which one was the dwarf? Was Salvin the dwarf?
What?
Was Salvin the dwarf?
No. Rock is the dwarf.
Okay.
You got
it.
Salvin is an old man. He's like an old storyteller.
Okay. I was channeling my inner Matt Berry for that voice.
Well, it's funny because you started doing that kind of rogue accent when Roa. And I'm like, Roa's the girl. but you did with Rock as well. So
I was trying to do like the softer accent for her.
Okay.
But it takes a minute to shift into it. But
I
was trying to go for Matt Berry from the IT Crowd, or the what's that new one? What We Do in the Shadows. That guy's voice is just awesome.
Yeah. So it's kind of a fun little chapter because, Jace is like this arrogant, clever know-it-all, and he's used to being in control. And when it gets flipped on him and they start making fun of him, he's like, he just wants to leave. So I like stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And Jeff, that was book 1 in the series?
Yeah. That's awesome. About 2/3 of the way through book 1. So there.
Which you can grab on Amazon and Audible.
Yes, you can. And it's free on Amazon right now.
Woo!
Yeah.
Very nice.
So Wizardum's Eye of Obscurance. That's the name of it.
Very nice. Guys, why don't you go take advantage of that? It's free.
Free.
We can all use some reading right now. Jeff, where can people find you, man?
My website, jeffreylkohanek.com. And that's Kohanek. Also, I'm on Facebook a lot, probably too much. I would get more writing done if I was on Facebook less. But so you can find me there. So not only do I have my own page named after myself, but I frequent some fantasy groups such as Indie Fantasy Addicts and Fantasy Focus.
Good one. Good one.
So yeah, you can come and hang out with me and other awesome authors such as Andy and Stevie. And
you're doing a live reading tomorrow, right? In the Fantasy Sci-Fi Focus group?
I am.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Very cool.
So I need to pick something out for that. Same book.
What time is your appearance?
I'm 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific.
Perfect.
Bring the dragon. That's why people are really going to be there. They want to see that dragon.
Yeah. And since it's Friday and it's late enough, I'll probably have to have a couple cocktails, and we'll make
that's the way you do things.
There you go.
Kohanek cognac.
There you go.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much for being on air with us today. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for being back, I should say. Is this your second time? But then we also had you on a special episode too, I think.
Yeah. Maybe even 2 special episodes.
Yeah.
I think
there's a lot of Jeff on this show.
You're not quite a record holder yet. We'll have to get you back another couple of times until you can take that title.
Okay.
I think Andy and I hold the record. So
just by a little bit.
Just a few times. Well, awesome. Well, Jeff, thanks again, man. We really appreciate you. We will have you on again. Good luck with your newest Audible release, guys. It's free on Amazon. Go check it out. You can also get it on Audible, as we said already.
Amazon WhisperSync. It's only like $7. Oh
my god!
For the audio.
Nice.
I love that WhisperSync thing. That is,
I know, right?
It's just a steal. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for watching the Fantasy Fiends podcast. We hope you enjoyed your stay with your boys. Remember to share this video. If you really want to help us out, like and subscribe, and comment down below your favorite fantasy book. We'd love to hear it or read it. Guys, we'll see you next Thursday. Or actually, Andy, are we doing something earlier than that?
Oh, are we?
I don't know. We'll figure it out. We will post it. We will tell you guys. Don't worry. But we will for sure see you next week on the Fantasy Fiends podcast. Good night.
See you guys.
Oh, the button's not wanting to press.